WBNS-TV Columbus.
From WBNS-10 Columbus, this is Eyewitness News.
Good evening. I'm Jerry Ravish, and tonight at 11, the presses are silent now. The final edition of the Citizen Journal is on the streets. Goodbye, Columbus. The Citizen Journal bows out after 26 years, leaving us a one-newspaper town. Now, the final editions of the paper were loaded into the stands tonight, with loyal readers lining up to buy the retrospective edition, which takes a look at the paper's history and features farewell columns from the people who spoke out from its pages these many years. Earlier today, reporters and staffers cleaned their desks, packed up their memories, and put the paper to bed before heading toward uncertain futures. Even syndicated columnist Bob Green came back today to the paper that gave him his start to bang out his nationally read column. Well, the farewells continued this evening for the people who are already calling themselves former CJ staffers. The going-away party was held fittingly in Melman's Bar, which is also nearing its end. Now, the folks here say they don't think Niles Reinfeld ever intended to keep the CJ alive. They think he just wanted to make a quick dollar. But they say others have to share in the responsibility for the death of the CJ.
We understand the reasons why it all happened. It's hard to know where to put the blame, but individually, we'll survive. I mean, these are people with marketable talents and skills, good people who have been doing a real good job under some straining conditions for the last couple of months. Not knowing what was going to happen.
Cabrera says the problem is very few CJ workers want to leave Columbus. So far, only a handful have found work elsewhere. Well, even though the last issue, the staff of the Citizen Journal was determined to maintain its reporting standards to the very end. Not wanting the distraction of cameras and other media, the paper decided to keep its newsroom off limits. Tonight, standing by outside the downtown offices is Seymour Reyes, managing editor of the Citizen Journal. Mr. Reyes, over the years, what made the CJ different from the competition?
I think perhaps it was both in the writing, which was lively, and in the editing, which was similarly lively. I think we recognized that we didn't have quite the resources and space that the other paper here has, and which some other papers around the country have. As a result, we had to kind of make it all count. Strangely enough, among our peers, instead of being looked down upon because we have such a small news hole, they kind of admire us because we've always been able to get as much as we have in there, and we've been able to do it as well as we have. Of course, that's due, as Frank says, to having such a group of talented people, and people who are so bright and resourceful and so energetic. I suspect, if I can brag a little bit, that that's probably what made us a little bit different.
Do you foresee any sort of information gap now that Columbus will be a one-newspaper town?
I think that we, as a matter of fact, addressed that in our special edition tonight. The pattern all over the country, of course, is when you dry up a voice, when you dry up news sources, obviously you're going to lose some information. This puts really a tremendous burden on the remaining media in town, including yours, frankly, Jerry. I hope that all of you work hard to make sure that there still is the wide spectrum of information and opinions that any kind of enlightened community should have.
Thank you very much. We all feel the loss. Seymour Reyes, managing editor of the Columbus Citizen Journal. If your coffee seems cold without Bloom County and Doonesbury in the morning, here's something that may warm your heart and your coffee. Shirley McNeely of the Dispatch says her paper will try to pick up the contracts of Columbus's favorite comic strips and syndicated features. Now, the paper will base its picks on a CJ reader poll conducted last year. However, apparently Doonesbury will not be part of that. Just across the river from Cincinnati, authorities are piecing together a story that began yesterday when a man took hostages in Newport, Kentucky. And even though a police sharpshooter ended the drama, the tale may yet end in tragedy.
SWAT team members brought the hostage crisis to a close some 30 hours after it began. 20-year-old Dennis Lucas sees two teenage brothers early Sunday morning in Newport, Kentucky, just across the Ohio River from Cincinnati. He kept police at bay with at least 2 guns and started making threats.
They do not give me my demands. You can say this over the radio. I'm going to tie these 2 young boys down to the bed, and I'm going to pour gas. I got 5 gallons of gas. I'm going to pour gas all over them and burn them up.
Lucas demanded that authorities give him $50,000 and 3 plane tickets to England for himself and his 2 hostages. Lucas called up a Cincinnati radio station Sunday night and blamed a prison stay and drugs for his crime spree. The ex-convict also told the radio station that he was responsible for the murder of 2 other teenage boys. He gave directions to where he allegedly dumped the bodies. A search turned up the corpse of 15-year-old Jimmy Kane. Police are still looking for the second body. Monday morning, police made their move.
We removed Bobby Wardlow, age 14, from the first floor. Larkin Wardlow, age 16, remained as a hostage on the first floor, handcuffed to the bed. Due to the fact that Larkin's life was in immediate danger, it was necessary to take the life of Dennis Lucas.
Robert and Larkin Wardlow were unharmed. Their captor, Dennis Lucas, was killed by a police bullet.
Kentucky police are still looking for another teenage boy that Lucas said he killed. 14-year-old Eddie Pence has been missing since mid-December. He was last seen leaving school. People who know him are starting to fear the worst. His teacher says Eddie did have some behavior problems, but she says he wasn't the kind of kid to run away from home.
Every day when the phone rings, you know, and I was back in Newport, I would keep hoping it would be him, and it was never him. But it's getting, as time goes on, it's beginning to, you know, you kind of begin to wonder if you're ever going to see him again.
Noe says she had never heard of Lucas before the hostage situation erupted. Well, here in Columbus, the police department is pretty proud of its record for solving murders, but as Chris Toohey reports, there are still a couple of real puzzlers out there, keeping detectives tracking clues to some real-life murder mysteries.
Homicide Captain Tony Lanata says the department has solved almost 90% of the murders in the city this year. He says the national average is about 75%. Of this year's 7 unsolved murders, most people are probably only aware of 2 or 3 of them. Captain Lanata says if there was more media attention on the lesser-known cases, that would lead to more tips and more solved murder cases. One unsolved case that shocked Columbus was the Blendon Woods murder of Carolyn Walters. She was found with massive head injuries along the park's half-mile nature trail. Police are still interviewing possible suspects, but have no hard leads. Earlier in the year, Columbus attorney Arthur Shapiro was gunned down near his Northwest Columbus condominium.
I have 2 officers working on the case nearly full-time, and we've not slowed down on that one at all.
As an example of a murder that attracted less attention, Lanata cites the case of 46-year-old Ronald Russell. His body was found in a car at South High School with a gunshot wound to his head. But the case that still stands out in most people's mind began 2 years ago today, the Riverside Hospital double murder. 2 technicians, Joyce McFadden and Patricia Maddox, were found slashed to death in a lab. Robbery is the only apparent motive.
This case fills a file cabinet, literally. Someone out there knows who killed each of the 7 this year that we still haven't solved. And what we have to do, our challenge, is to find who knows it, get them to tell us.
Chris Toohey, Eyewitness News.
Well, are you ready to ring in the new year? Next on the news, holiday cheer. Wet, but not always wonderful. And we'll tell you who's buying, who's not, and who's liable if your party gets too hardy.
For the love of Zach, for the love of Sophie, for the love of Jack, more mothers choose Baby Fresh to get baby tender, loving, clean.
And no firm cost estimates yet from the builder. Nonetheless, they've bought land in downtown Cleveland for the stadium and hope to break ground by next October.
Jim can always dust it off his crystal ball.
29. Shine all the way into next year.
Only at Nissan Superstar dealers. He liked the popular regular bed 5-speeds from a low $64.09. He was crazy about the 4x4s beginning at just $89.39 and sport trucks beginning at $88.49. He wanted one. He had to have one. You too can really save during this incredible sale. On now at your Nissan Superstar dealer.
A lot of accident claims never get a fair hearing because many people think you have to be rich to have a lawyer. At Hyatt Legal Services, we took the fear out of legal fees. Before you sign something you don't understand, come in and talk to one of our lawyers. We'll help you fight for what you're entitled to. I'm Joel Hyatt.
Protect while it keeps on fading.
Boy, a lot of fear out of legal fees across the country and in your neighborhood.
On the next taxi, the boss discovers a spare parts scam, and Jeff will reach for components.
Was not only unspeakable, but...
The new truck on the road.
Here's for...
He is down. Selling it and keeping the money for himself.
On taxi.
Monday, following the 11 o'clock edition of Eyewitness News.
On a couple companies to provide liability insurance. Coda's been shopping for coverage since December 20th when its insurance company went broke. Another company has agreed to provide up to $25 million worth of protection, but Coda will have to cover the first $1 million of any claim involving buses. Coda will pay $6,000 for that additional coverage. Time for weather now, and Janet Watkins. It was a pretty day today.
Beautiful. Lots and lots of sun out there. We will probably miss out on the sun tomorrow, but we'll make up for it in other areas, and I'll tell you what I mean in just a minute. First of all, let's look at temperatures on today. We got off to kind of a slow start. We started out with 12 degrees this morning, but made up for it nicely this afternoon when we went up to 34 degrees. The record low of 12 below zero was set in 1880. The record high of 63 set in 1964. And sunrise tomorrow morning at 7:53. Take a look now at the cloud structures across Ohio, and you can see that we still have some breaks in those clouds because we still have high pressure that dominated our weather most of the day and brought us lots and lots of sunshine. That's over the southern Atlantic coast right now. Still kicking up some nice winds from the south, and that means temperatures tonight will not be too bad at all. We could hit a bottom of about 25 here in central Ohio overnight, but by sunrise we'll be back up in the 30s again and probably the mid to upper 30s, so tomorrow looks pretty good temperature-wise. Low pressure and a trailing cold front headed our way. That will bring increasing clouds tonight and plenty of cloud cover tomorrow. It's going to look a lot like it should rain in central Ohio, but more than likely all we'll get are lots and lots of clouds. As far as precipitation goes tomorrow across the state, we will see some, but it will mostly fall up in the northern part of the state in these areas that you see shaded in here, and it could fall in the form of snow or possibly freezing rain. So if you're headed up there for New Year's Eve tomorrow night, you want to be real careful because it could be real slippery up there by tomorrow evening. Not too much in the way of precipitation for central and southern Ohio, but plenty of clouds. You can see that there really isn't all that much precipitation associated with that cold front you saw just a moment ago. We have a few flakes of snow up here, very strong winds across the Dakotas, about 4 or 5 inches of snow, but the winds causing a lot of problems, gusting to 50, in some cases 60 miles an hour. Nothing happening across Ohio now. Some chilly temperatures expected across central Florida, as far south as central Florida, where frost and freeze warnings are in effect for tonight. Down in Miami right now, though, things are looking pretty good, and things not too bad across most of the east. It is 27 in Buffalo, 37 in Chicago, and 42 degrees in Atlanta. And we have 2 spots that recorded the hottest in the country today, 81 degrees in both Yuma, Arizona, and Kingsville, Texas. And around Ohio right now, things are looking pretty good. 30 at the airport, 32 up in Findlay, and in the 20s in Cleveland, Youngstown, Mansfield, Zanesville, and Marietta. Not too bad. Take a look outside 10 TV right now. Our temperature is 33. 52% is the humidity, and winds are light from the south of 5 miles an hour. That will help warm things up as we get on towards sunrise now, and we'll be up into the upper 30s by the time the sun comes up. And then during the day tomorrow, we'll have some clouds. A slight chance of some rain here in central Ohio, but again, most of that moisture staying to the north of us. Partly cloudy New Year's Day with a few lingering flurries up in the northeast. So headed up there, please be real careful. Thursday, not bad in central Ohio. Same goes for Friday and Saturday, some rain mixed with snow. So traveling could be a little tricky depending on where you're driving for New Year's, especially up in northern Ohio.
Okay, well, watch for it. Thanks,
Okay.
Janet. When we come back, Kentucky basketball comes to Columbus, and the women were ready. And is it too good to be true? Has a local doctor found a cure for lung cancer? Stay with us. The administration is blaming Libya for supporting the terrorists who opened fire in airports in Rome and Vienna last week. 5 Americans were among those murdered. Today, White House spokesman Larry Speakes said, if any nation can find out who's responsible for the massacre, it's fine with the U.S. if they attack them and wipe them out. Time for sports now, and Barry Brickman. Some of the Buckeyes are in your hometown, huh?
No, I used to live there, not my hometown. Texas is very big. It's about 600 miles from my hometown, El Paso.
Bragging again, huh?
Yeah. No, it's an interesting city, though, Jerry. You get an interesting perspective on the alien situation. During the summer, the Rio Grande is about that wide. when it dries up. That's the border between Texas and Mexico. But talking about cold, I don't know what the temperature is out there. I can tell you what it was for the Buckeyes. Awfully cold shooting in the second half, just 37%. What we had here is the consolation game in El Paso of the Sun Bowl Classic. Nebraska wins at 69-66. So Ohio State now has lost 3 of their last 4 games. The championship of that game, El Paso, the University of Texas at El Paso, and Alabama is just getting underway. And as you know, just starting this Thursday right here in Columbus is the Big Ten season. Now, the Buckeye women, can't say much more for them tonight. They were flat over at St. John Arena, especially in that second half, against Kentucky's Lady Wildcats. Also for the women, final game for Big Ten basketball. Tracy Hall drives and hits, but just 13, and that's low for her point-wise. For Kentucky, watch Leslie Nichols. Has kind of a crazy shot, just throws it up, but she hits it and scores 20. You see it was 36 all, tied at halftime, but the good recovery from Jody Roth here. After Lisa Klein misses the shot and Roth off the board, she also had 20 points, but Nichols, with that crazy unorthodox shot, southpaw she has, starts to pull it away for Kentucky. Ohio State can't do much on the board. Now, Sandy Harding, I think she's been watching practice over on the men's side. A little Kenny Skywalker move here for the little 5-footer. Buckeyes, how about that? Couldn't do it on the boards tonight. They lose their second at home. Kentucky 70, Ohio State 66.
I think they were more intense than we were. I think they wanted it more than we did, and that's would be reflected in the number of rebounds that they had as compared to the number of rebounds that we had. And rebounding is desire, determination, it's effort. That and the fact that I thought we had some crucial turnovers in the second half that really hurt.
All right, again, the OSU women opening their Big Ten season this coming Thursday night. They'll be at Michigan State. The men will be here to play Michigan State. Now, if you want a little football, we've got 10 bowl games for you in 3 days, in case you're counting. 2 of those being played tonight, both in the fourth quarter. Florida State up at halftime, 13-0. Oklahoma State comes back, but Florida State keeps adding on more, 27-17 with about 11 minutes to go. And winding up, Colorado's come back, but still trailing Washington 20-17. Bowling Green finally has its new head football coach. He is, Denny Stoltz is the guy who is leaving. This is the guy that's new. Mo Ankeny, A-N-C-K-N-E-Y. A-N-K-N-E-Y is the name there. Former Bowling Green grad 22 years ago. Has been an assistant football coach for most of the time since then. Ohio State offensive coordinator Glenn Mason was a candidate for the job, did not get it. That man did. All right, let's show you some high school scores from tonight. Why don't they give these girls and guys some time off, let them have a little vacation with her. Groveport beats Eastmore. Danville over Licking Heights, 60-22. DeSales beat Grandview, 39-32. Highland beat East Knox Boys High School. Reynoldsburg is a winner. And as long as they keep winning, the New York Giants coach is going to get drenched a lot of times. There's Reynoldsburg and White. And we got 3 bowl games tomorrow, including Michigan State and Illinois in the All-America Bowl and the Peach Bowl, and that's sports.
Okay, thanks, Barry. Lung cancer is among the most deadly forms of cancer. Most doctors are convinced it is caused by cigarette smoking. But a Columbus man who once smoked 3 packs a day and was diagnosed with malignant lung cancer is today cancer-free. He credits a Columbus doctor and help from heaven for his cure.
I'm just enjoying what I got left.
Now, is the tumor completely gone?
Yeah. She done a good job.
No one has tried to treat older people with lung cancer with such a short-term burst of chemotherapy over such a short period of time.
Gibson was treated with cisplastin and 2 drugs derived from plants, etoposide and vinblastin. The therapy involves 5 days of almost constant injection, 2 weeks of rest, 5 more days of treatment, 2 weeks of rest, and a final treatment for a total of 9 weeks. Well, is it hocus pocus, or can K-Frame really bring 1986 into focus? Gaze into her crystal ball next. It's nothing to do with the weather and relies on feelings rather than facts. We posed the questions and psychic K-Frame gave us her predictions. Here's what you think.
Let's start with Capital South.
The overall project, I think, is going to be real good, extremely good, because I think that what it's going to do for downtown what other places wouldn't have done. I think there's, it's going to bring people in.
I will be a candidate for governor in 1986.
If he runs, and he runs against Celeste, I think he'll just make it in.
President Reagan's health.
I don't think he's as well as he should be. I just don't think that. But at the same time, I don't see him dead. I just don't see him as well as he ought to be.
Will Buck Reinhardt be successful in his efforts to make Columbus an A-plus city?
Honey, he couldn't not be successful. He's too ornery.
Will Art Schleister play football next year?
Is he dark-haired?
Yeah.
Rather nice looking?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, isn't he? He's sweet. And he's just got cut?
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell him not to worry. He's going to play for somebody else.
And how about the Buckeyes Rose Bowl bid?
I don't know enough about, I mean, I don't know the difference between your, is it baseball?
Oh, football.
Oh, heck. Well, all right. I know the difference between your football and your baseball. See, I get really confused about that.
Well, at least she didn't say we shouldn't get out of bed in the morning, huh? Have a good evening. Thanks for having us in. Good night.